Hello there, and welcome to Hearts Alright podcast. In this episode, we'll be talking or discussing a very important topic, and it's also a common saying in our society, which is forgive and forget. I believe that you must have heard this saying over and over again. Probably you might have been offended and you felt so hurt, so disappointed, so betrayed, only for somebody to tell you to forgive and forget. We know that forgiving on its own it's hard, but to forget, is that even possible? And even if it is possible, is it wise to forget? This saying, without a doubt, has been elevated to the status of a proverb, and many believe that it must be rooted in some form of ancient wisdom or something. But we all know, without a doubt, there is no denial that when it comes to issues like this, it's much easier said than done. In this episode, we'll be exploring on this topic, and we'll be finding out whether it's actually possible to forget any offenses or offense committed against us. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in a short while. Hey, welcome back, and I would like to kick off this episode with a story or an experience, a personal experience. So during my undergraduate studies in school, I happened to be part of a group that were engaged in a discussion with regards to this topic, forgive and forget, and we were trying to find out whether it was actually possible to forgive and forget. So from the discussions I gathered from the different participants, that there was quite a majority that believed that to forgive and to forget is quite possible. They seem to suggest, based on their argument, that forgiveness might be incomplete without forgetting, which was something that I didn't quite agree with. I'm a preacher of love, if you might say, or I'm a preacher of forgiveness, and I believe in forgiveness in that it enables the person or the individual who is offended to let go of the hurt, the blame which comes with the offense, and the individual is able to move forward, and not even mention the health benefits associated with forgiveness, which will be a topic for another day. So going back to my story, the thoughts that were going through my head was that these people have to be naive to believe that almost every offense can easily be forgotten, or it's possible to forget all those offenses, and that forgiveness might be incomplete without forgetting offenses that were perpetrated against us. I believe that offenses can be forgotten, but that will be due to time and not by an individual forcing himself to forget. And most of the times, those offenses that can be forgotten are offenses that are really minor and do not carry much gravity. Offenses that carry much gravity are often difficult to forget, and it might take a long time. Probably one, after forgiving, might forget the details of such offenses, but then forgetting them all in all might not actually be possible. If it were possible, then I don't think that memorials will be held. Most of the times, like in the cases of genocides or terrorist attacks, such as in the case of the Paris attacks, September 11, or let's take the case of the Holocaust, whereby memorials have been held yearly to commemorate such unfortunate incidences. It will be difficult to tell such people to forget such occurrences. Even shared a story of a woman, a Rwandan woman, during the 1994 genocide, who was able to not only forgive a young man who killed her husband and cut off her arm, but also she was able to adopt him as her own son. And I argued that in this situation, this woman is day in, day out confronted by the reality that this is the killer of her husband, or this is the man responsible for some of her misfortunes. But then, to expect her to completely forget would be mere fantasy. So I get that in this woman's situation, one can argue that it would be impossible to forget. I have a few reasons in which I believe that forgetting offenses committed or perpetrated towards us, it's not always possible. And my number one reason is this: the saying "forgive and forget" has been misconstrued, and there's a misconception about its meaning, in that people have taken it quite literally. A synonym which could easily be used to replace this phrase "forgive and forget" was "let bygones be bygones." And then you could see that from this it didn't make mention of being able to forget an offense perpetrated towards an individual. My second reason is this: forgetting undermines the reality on ground or what's obtainable. It diminishes emotions an individual, that the individual who has been offended is going through, and will in this way probably affect his healing process. It will be like living in a complete denial that you are being offended, or you are being hurt, or you feel betrayed. The third reason is that forgetting might mean that an individual must have to maintain a relationship or close contact with the individual who has offended or perpetrated an evil or a wrong towards him, which is not quite true, because it's quite okay that you are able to forgive a person that has offended you, but you mustn't necessarily have to remain in contact or continue that said relationship, except in few situations and exceptions whereby that relationship can be salvaged. But if not, I would recommend that one forgives and then learns to move on with his life. And lastly, I believe that forgetting might mean or translate to an individual not learning from his or her past experience. In that we as human beings, we learn from our past experiences, either good or bad. So to suggest that an individual to completely forgive will have to forget the offense perpetrated will be pretty ridiculous. If there's anything you're able to take away from this discussion, is that it's quite alright that you forgive an individual. It's quite alright that you heal. But if peradventure you find it difficult to forget, then that's not a bad thing. That does not make you a terrible human being, but probably you need more time, or probably you might never even be able to forget as a whole, and which is also quite alright. But just make sure that you're able to work on forgiveness so that you not remain stagnated in a particular situation or circumstance. If you really love this podcast, I would like you to give a follow. Also, follow me on my YouTube channel at Hearts Are Right. You can also check out my other social media handles to stay updated on more content like this. If you have opinions with regards to these topics, I would love to hear them. See you in the next episode. Have a great weekend and goodbye.